to the PropTech Innovation Round 4 kickoff. You are all very welcome. It's 2 minutes past 2 now, so I'll start. Appreciate a few people are still coming in. So a little bit of housekeeping before we start. We've got a chat function on the side. Please do introduce yourselves, your name, your role, and we're aiming for a round 4 playlist. Tell us your most current played tune. That would be amazing. We are recording, so if you do not want your face on camera, which is going to be shared later, then please do feel free to turn your camera off. But also, we love to see faces, so please do keep your camera on if you would like to. There will be time for Q&A at the end of each section. So if you do have any burning questions, put them in the chat and we will come to them for sure. And then in terms of our agenda, we've got a 2-hour session today. We do have a packed agenda, so hopefully it will whiz by. So we've got a welcome and introduction and information about the Round 4 community. We're going to tell you a little bit about how we will work with you, support with you, how that what that will look like, what the expectations might be of you and of us, and how we might be looking at the impact and outcomes of your projects. We'll then take a little bit of a break and then we will come back, and we are very excited to have Southampton City Council talking with us today and sharing their information and experience of being part of the PropTech Innovation Fund. And then we do have an activity which I hope you will get involved in, where we will work with you on Mural, and then we'll go to next steps at the end. So a really packed agenda. There is lots of opportunity for you to talk in the chat, and we will come to Q&As at certain points as well. So without further ado, I will introduce you to Jessica.
Hello, everyone. So I've got the joy of running the warm-up today. There's a Slido code on the screen, and I've popped it in the chat, but I don't know if it will be mixed up with lots of everyone's rock and roll suggestions of the songs in the chat. Just say Lou and I walked into the office today and I was singing Nick Kershaw, so that's what kind of set this one up. Doesn't have to be modern. So while you're setting your Slido up, and hopefully everyone can have access, but we can pop things in the chat if it's not working. I just want to take a moment to have celebrate some inclusion aspects. We're going to try and put as much inclusion moments into our joint workshops as possible. And today I'd like to take a moment to celebrate neurodiversity and the unique strengths that each individual brings to our community. Neurodiversity encompasses a spectrum of neurological differences, including autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and more. And instead of viewing these differences as deficits, we're encouraging people to recognise them as valuable variations in human cognition and perception. In embracing neurodiversity in our community, we can create an environment where everyone feels valued and included. We want to commit to fostering understanding, empathy and support for individuals of all neurotypes. By embracing the diversity of our minds, we unlock innovation, creativity, and open up further possibilities. So together, I'd like us all to champion neurodiversity and create a more inclusive world as we're going on. We also have, so hopefully everyone's got into Slido, and I'm going to kick off with, you should have one question. So we've got some binary questions, this or that questions. So if anyone could answer that poll that should be on your Slido right now, for are you a tea person or are you a coffee person? And I give you a couple more seconds to do that.
Very controversial.
There'll be no judgments, but at the same time, it's really interesting to see how it comes out. We're a very strong coffee community right now, I think it seems. In the interest of time, I'm going to move on to the next question. So, are you a morning person or a night owl? No, I understand there's no, we're being quite binary here. It's you have to be really into hot drinks either way. very 50-50 at the moment with the morning or night? Like totally 50-50 right now with the morning person and night person. I'm definitely a night person, if that helps. I'll be most productive in the afternoon, and I'm not very good at meetings before 10 o'clock. But I was in the office early today, so I'm quite and I'm feeling that energy carry on through the day. Brilliant. And then finally, the final question here. So we're coming out 50-50 really with that one. And then finally, the question here is, if you're listening to some of those songs that we've put in the chat, is it an air guitar or is it air drums that you do? I think I'm a bit of both, and I understand because it's going to be the coffee and the tea conversation, but majoritively I'm the drums. And I think we've come out a little bit strongly with the air drums there. Right. So hopefully now you're all super engaged and now you know a little bit more about the community. So we're all going to come in with coffee and in the afternoon. But I'm going to hand over to Lou to kick off proceedings properly.
Thank you for that, Cheska. I saw someone in Anna Mackey's room doing the drums. Whoever is on camera there, thank you for that visual. It's really great. Yeah, we're just going to talk to you a little bit here about the amazing community that is round 4 of the PropTech Innovation Fund. And as you will have seen, for whoever was at the welcome event last week, we have a fantastic kind of team always growing here at DLUC and with our partners that are going to help support you. So this here is a little bit about people you're going to be hearing from today and hearing from most as you go on your kind of pilot journey moving forward. So you've met me, I'm innovation lead at DLUC and help kind of generally steer the direction of the fund, and we'll be in a lot of the meetings happening across the next 9 to 12 months. Sarah, you've already met as well, our incredible delivery manager. Bridget will be speaking in a bit, so we'll all kind of introduce ourselves as we go. Cheska similarly, and then we have colleagues Rishi and Radhika who aren't here today, but will be supporting a lot of this work as we go forward. I also wanted to let Eva and Andy say hello, who we wonderfully have joining us today. It's only their second, third weeks, but I wanted to give them a chance to say hello very quickly. So I'll pass to you, Eva, first.
Amazing. Hi, everybody. My name is Eva O'Brien, and I'm the community lead, which sounds like a very fancy title. I promise I'm not fancy. So my job is basically going to be working with the amazing community managers, Angela, Andy, and Matt, to make sure that you folks have everything that you need and the support that you require over the next few months. I'm really excited to dig into your projects and learn more about the fabulous work that you're doing. Andy, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah, but hi guys, my name's Andy Monker. I'm one of the community managers from DLUC as well, working with Ava and you guys as well. So really looking forward to getting to know you over the coming months and working with you all.
Thanks, guys. And those roles will become a little bit clearer as we go through today as well. So you've already hopefully seen that very overwhelming slide across both the open digital planning community and our PropTech community. But these are all the local authorities, just to remind everyone, who are joining us in round 4 of the fund. And I think what I keep coming back to here is just the breadth of kind of local authorities, even types of local authority that are going to be working with us across 49 of you on 37 pilots. So some people have been successful with us before, so they have that experience. Some people are coming into this fresh, which is really exciting. So I think generally we are very excited about the different kind of ideas that we can bring into this space and appreciating the value of diversity, as Cheska said at the start, of what this community brings. I'm going to quickly hand to Bridget here to talk about the wider community that is the digital planning programme and what benefits might come from that.
Thanks, Lou. Good afternoon, everyone. Absolute pleasure to see you all, see some new names and some familiar ones as well. Welcome to Digital Planning Bus. I think this is one of our many analogies we're going to use as we go on the journey. I'm a bit corny, so for those who haven't met, we do love a couple of puns as we go on this journey. And this slide really, represents the fact that our community and our tribe is growing, and I'm really excited about that. And today is another step to bring you closer into the detail of what else is going on in the program and how we might work with you over the course of the next few months to connect some further dots, both supporting your delivery of round 4, but also supporting and informing other exciting work happening across digital planning, whether it's relating to local plans, planning data software, industry working groups with software companies, and other projects we have going on more behind the scenes, but they will be revealed shortly, and we do welcome your interest and your curiosity and appetite to work with us on those wider working groups as they evolve, both within and across round 4. So we'll leave it at that, and we can pick it up as part of the discussions later this afternoon.
Brilliant. Thank you, Bridget. What I love about this slide as well is it really brings some of what you've just said to life. I think what the digital planning community offers is real partnership and collaboration and kind of sharing problems and opportunities together. We've really been making an effort over the last couple of years with bringing people together in person as well, taking inspiration from what the open digital planning community are doing and providing extra opportunity for people to come together, especially in person, to talk about some of the work going on across the programme. So we've had some regional events that have brought people together like this, and hopefully what we'll be expecting of you is to really turn up to these where they're available, the first one potentially being in May, and to really get stuck in with us and trying to troubleshoot and find opportunities for join up across all the work that's happening. So just to say that as well as the ways you'll be working more structured, there will be these amazing kind of interim days where we can all come together and share the magic. Just my final slide, which I do share at pretty much every presentation I do on this fund, because I get very excited about all the partners we have with us here today. Of course, on the slide are the logos of the partners who are going to be helping within the industry to deliver some of these pilots, but we also have lots of the tech companies here today where they've been procured or where they're involved, which is really, really exciting. And I think it's so powerful to see the breadth of work that's happening and how this has grown across the fund. So, the way in which we can use these as opportunities to share skills and knowledge is very exciting to us, and I wanted to open it up for ideas as well as we move through today and the next couple of weeks as to how we might make the most of this community. Some of you might have great ideas as to how we should be coming together or networks that already exist to make the most of this, so please do let us know if you've got any sparks. So this section is just going to talk a little bit about the support that we're going to give you, both in terms of the support you'll offer each other and what DLUC can offer, and how we will approach kind of governance in a more structured way moving forward. So the types of support you're going to have are peer-to-peer support, which already exists and hopefully you feel more part of already. Self-service support, so we have kind of more structure than ever before in terms of the infrastructure that's available for you to use, and when I say infrastructure I mean kind of digital infrastructure, and then the support that we can provide as DLUC and all those amazing partners that you're meeting today. So I'm going to quickly hand to Cheska to talk a little bit about the benefits of the peer-to-peer support we've got available.
Lou, it's definitely one of the things, one of the biggest learnings from previous rounds of the fund is that how integral it is for local authorities and the community as a whole to share your insights and experience as your project develops. We really want you to work openly and honestly and learn from each other, as this supports you across your individual project, but also the wider outcomes of the programme. It may seem quite mushy, but these things often are actually up there as some of the most important things as part of delivery, because you're able to, in the peer support space, provide empathy and understanding and encouragement and celebration of the work that's going on in these groups, as well as collaboration and space for reflections and feedback as a community. On the next slide, you'll be able to see that we've split you into cohorts. This is to support the work that you're delivering. We've tried to mix up some elements here and keep some integral themes going. So there's still lots of diversity within these themes, and particularly to learn from those who've been part of the Innovation Fund before, and a mix of experience with those who have already worked with us and who are new. This is not set in stone. We're encouraging people to still talk to each other, but this is hopefully a helpful start where you can talk to each other across your cohorts with some key similarities that you have. To help you do this, we've set up some channels and some exercises to support some of this cross collaboration and pollination. Feel free to attend meetings outside of your cohorts, as I said, and do utilise Notion and Slack channels, but there's more on that later. Some of these channels on the slide here are for both the Innovation Fund and the Planning Improvement Fund, as well as the wider ODP community, as we're all onboarded together last week. But we're also holding space specifically just for the Innovation Fund alone. It's up to you if you want to set up more places and more mechanisms to collaborate, and up to you how you really want to use them. So you might want to moan about joint issues or get together quickly to overcome barriers that you might be facing, or celebrate each other and and push that success. You'll be facing much of the same issues and opportunities, so it's a real space to collaborate and possibly approach things strategically as a group of local authorities, as well as share those skills, which we did ask about on your application form. So on the next slide, what we've tried to do here from your application form is bring together some of the skills that are in this or are in the local authorities that are here today, and also some of the skills gaps that are in other local authorities. So here we can see there's massive potential for shared learning, shared skills. We saw that a lot of the PropTech application form stated that you didn't have the right standardized data as one of the key variables, and we can see that as key to project success. Equally, we know that procurement and integration of new software is a challenge. I know that we've got some suppliers here, but we're aware that some of the local authorities will not have been able to procure so far, and we have got an exercise together on the mural later on today. So although people are working on different things, there are definitely so many learnings that will apply across all cohorts and in different scenarios, and we really just are really excited to bring everyone together and have this new working structure as we've grown so massively since the previous rounds of the fund. Lou?
Thanks, Jessica. And yeah, just to say those exercises we asked you to do are really helping us inform the support we can give to understand where the gaps are and the supports you can give each other. So we'll have a bit more of an activity on that later in this session, which is great. To talk a little bit more about the self-service support, so that digital infrastructure I talked about, we will have a PropTech Innovation Fund hub, which is ready to go. And the benefits of this hub is that it's a digital platform where we'll host all the information you need, both relating to the digital planning programme, what's happening in the fund, and across other funding areas like software, for example. Excuse me. So there, at any time, you'll be able to see what other projects they're looking at, what they're working on, have a look at their roadmap to understand where progress is, contact your community manager, understand what other kind of opportunities there are across the digital planning program, whether that's data, local plans, that kind of thing. So it really will become kind of the one-stop shop for all of your information, which hopefully is an evolving approach from previous rounds and makes it even more useful for us all to have everything in one place. There will be a demo available for this next week for both Open Digital Planning and PropTech, and we'll be sending you an invite to this in the next couple of days to enable you to start logging in and exploring. Things are very kind of self-explanatory once you get in there. There's a kind of starter for 10 on where you should go when you first join Notion and what you should look at. I appreciate this may be new software, maybe not for other people. So we're always here for your questions, and there will also be onboarding sessions, drop-ins dedicated to this. There'll be 2 of them in the next couple of weeks, so you'll be able to come along and troubleshoot anything, but we hope it should be quite self-explanatory, and that will kind of be self-service. Similarly, we'll also be using Slack as our ultimate kind of communication tool, so we're not kind of scattered across emails and other platforms. I think it's really helpful to have everyone in one place. The idea is that this will be a space where both kind of DLUC, all our delivery partners, yourselves, and your partners and suppliers can live and talk to each other. So when you get the invites for these, which similarly will be in the next couple of days, you'll be allocated a specific channel or channels, plural, that you'll be able to have access to. Similarly, for your suppliers, that will be the case as well. We'll be asking at the end of the session for you to let us know your supplier contact details so we can make sure they're on here. And the idea is here that we'll have channels for each cohort, for example, so together you can kind of troubleshoot, talk ahead of your monthly meetings, but also contact your community manager, community lead, Eva. That will all be kind of done via Slack, and that will all be one big feedback loop back to us as well. So there's ample opportunity there to both raise opportunities and also kind of risks and things you're worried about, with very kind of formalized structures to it. So it will become slightly more self-explanatory when you get in there, but again, there is a demo and there will be onboarding support via drop-ins in the next few weeks. So don't panic, it will be a really useful tool, I promise. We're very excited to bring everyone together on this, and the Open Digital Planning team have been using this for a long time and it's worked really well. So we're used to troubleshooting things like firewalls. I know people have some concerns over that, but we'll get through it. I promise. most of you will probably be familiar with these, but just to reiterate that we do use Teams as our kind of way of meeting in terms of video calls, and we also will be using Mural as a collaboration tool, which you'll see later on today, and hopefully it will all go smoothly. We also wanted to bring up the digital planning maturity assessment, which I know we spoke about last week at the welcome event. Some people may or may not have been there. This is something that's been developed by the Open Digital Planning Programme, and it was designed to help local authority teams assess how their planning teams currently use digital practices and what actions could be taken to support their kind of adoption journey. And ultimately, it aims to help understand kind of the baseline, what the current state is in your team, and create a self-driven action plan off the back of that helps you access various areas of support and resources to drive that forward. So that is now kind of ongoing within the Open Digital Planning community, but we really are making this available to PropTech in time. So probably towards the end of April, this will be something that you'll be able to get involved in as well. And we want to emphasize that you should get in touch with us if you're interested in doing this, and we can kind of put you on a list and make sure that happens. But it will be once you've onboarded and had a bit of time to get feet under the table. There were just a few questions on whether that would be available, excuse me. So that's also very exciting. The final section here on support and governance is about the support that you'll get from us as a team, the team that I showed at the start. So the way in which the community managers, which includes Andy and our two other lovely community managers, will work is that they're really there to help you drive momentum in your pilot and really get you from A to B, but also to help you tap into all of those wider kind of opportunities across the PropTech Innovation Fund, but also making connections with Open Digital Planning, other PropTech communities, and across DLUC. So Eva, myself, and the rest of the team at DLUC will be meeting really regularly with Andy and the community manager team to make sure that we are understanding what's happening on your pilots and that all of the insights you're generating are kind of translated into whether it's support from DLUC, policy change, whatever else those kind of insights and evidence might generate. So there's really good kind of structure there between community managers and the rest of the team, and they're ultimately there to support you along your journey. So it's kind of the most structured and the most support we've ever had in the program, and I'm very excited about how that can kind of support your pilot delivery moving forwards. What that might look like in practice then in terms of the meetings that you'll be attending is that there'll be really regular meetings that we ask you commit to and attend, and those are highlighted in green here. And what the point of those is to ensure that you've got sufficient opportunity to both come together and play back learnings to each other, but also ensure alignment across the pilots and ensure that any risks are dealt with properly so that we can really get your pilot delivered as you wish within that kind of 9 to 12 month time frame, which we appreciate is tight. So all of those meetings that I've listed here, don't panic, they will all be set out when you enter Notion. There's a calendar and they're all on a calendar there for you, and you're able to join the meetings from there, but also download them into your calendars if that's helpful, so you can kind of share with people that need to be there. So hopefully that is quite self-explanatory, and you'll see there's things in there like a working group with your cohort, so you can come together fortnightly to kind of share progress on your pilots and kind of cross-pollinate a little bit. There'll be drop-ins available as well, where you can come on an ad hoc basis and kind of flag in advance things you want to raise, but get answers to your questions. There'll also be show and tell, which isn't any different to how we've run the fund before. So we're asking people to really get visual about how they kind of show other PropTech pilots what's happening, and we'll be kind of nominating people for those because obviously with such a large cohort we can't have everyone presenting at the same time, so you'll be nominated occasionally to show your work at show and tells. And then finally there's also that risk meeting, so we recognise that we really want to work with you to flag any risks early and figure out how we can support you to minimise those, and so there'll be a risk meeting that happens, and Max, who is on the call, is also going to talk in 2 seconds about how risk reporting is going to work more formally in the next 9 to 12 months. Just at the bottom here, there's 2 kind of ad hoc meetings that I wanted to flag. The onboarding drop-ins I mentioned, which are there to support you as you try and get onto Slack and Notion and get to grips with the structure that's going to be in place. So please do drop into those. We will share more details on those invites in the next couple of days, and those invites will pop into the Notion calendar as well. And then finally, there will be an introduction with your community manager, which will be one-on-one. So that will happen in the next couple of weeks. And ideally, kind of by second week of April, we should have most of those done. So you'll get a chance to chat to Andy and the others more personally and get to know each other before you properly start in earnest. So that's broadly the meetings. As I say, they will all be in Notion, and you don't need to panic about writing all this down. And we're here to support you with all that those troubleshooting opportunities as we go forward. So I'll very quickly hand to Max. As I mentioned, there's a bit of a new approach around risk reporting that we want to talk to you about now.
Yeah, thanks, Lou. Hi, everyone. I'm Max. I've asked today to come speak to you all about risk and reporting, which I know you all think is the most glamorous role here. Seriously, though, it's really important that we hear about how you're getting on the project, where you might need a little bit more help, a bit more support, but also where you're having great success. We really want to hear about that, and we really want to talk about it. So we've created risks and reporting in 5 easy steps. First of all, is something that I'm sure you're all going to do anyway. It's just set up and maintain a project plan and a risk log, just as you normally would, however you do that in your council. We're just looking for risks that kind of affect your project delivery and kind of how you're going to manage them. But however you want to go about that, that's fine, as long as there is some sort of plan in place. Secondly, we've set up a Microsoft form to capture your progress updates every 4 weeks. So this is a really short form, just covers your key milestone dates, any changes to those, any successes you've had, blockers, and kind of an opportunity to ask for support or give some feedback as well, so that you feel like you're getting a chance to let us know how it's going. The next one, number 3, is where you kind of get to have a bit of personality and talk a bit more about what you're doing. So this is where we're doing a month note every 4 weeks as well. The way that we're setting 2 and 3 out, so you'll do a monthly progress update every 4 weeks, and then every offset by 2 weeks will be your month note. Think of it as like month note is the end of the month, and then the progress update is kind of mid-month. So in that month note is where you get to talk about all your successes, what you've learned, what your big challenges are coming up, anything you want to tell anyone else. And that will be shared with this cohort, but also is kind of open to the rest of the Open Digital Planning program as well. So it's kind of really opportunity to show off about all the great work you've done. Number 4 is, as Lou mentioned, there will be a monthly check-in with your community manager. This is where you can bring up kind of really impactful risks, things that you're a bit worried about. Also, it's an opportunity for you to help your community manager to spot any trends, anything that seems to be happening across the cohort that you've seen, so that we can kind of identify the key risks early and do something about them. Finally, it's about taking part in your community activities. We kind of mentioned it again already. The way that we go beyond all of your brilliant projects and be bigger than some of our parts is by working as a community. And there's great activities available, but particularly the show and tell. This is your opportunity to go on record and really talk about all the great things you've done. So I highly recommend getting involved in that as well.
Thank you, Max. That's really helpful. And I appreciate this is a lot of information we're throwing at you. Yes to all the questions about whether these slides will be sent. We're recording this session as well. And all of this will genuinely be on Notion as well. So there's a lot of kind of playback of this information, which is helpful. Just before we go to kind of Q&A on everything we've just told you and your brains can download on us, we were going to touch on some impact and outcome stuff. So why does all of this kind of reporting matter? Why do we want to keep up with what evidence you're generating? And I think it's important to share the power that the evidence you're generating has for us, and particularly from previous rounds of funding, what we've been able to do with it, So particularly across government, for example, the evidence that we've been able to generate in the fund to date has really allowed us to kind of de-risk other areas of investment. And it means that across government, other people can use this work to test and validate the need or the potential for tech to make a difference in various areas across planning, regeneration, and a number of other kind of areas. So I think it's important to recognise that although we feel like we're working in this kind of PropTech world, the evidence and the hypotheses that we're testing and generating have huge power across government, not even just our department. And we feel extremely lucky to be working with you all to generate that. And hopefully it only gets bigger and better from here. On top of that, the evidence you're generating and the work you're doing has much wider impact beyond just government. And, you know, just a few examples are here, the fact that the PropTech Fund and the work you've all done has been included in the OECD's Global Innovation in Government report. Similarly, we've had pilots included in the Geospatial Commission's work, trying to build out and understand the power and the value of data, and particularly 3D data in plan making and planning. Some work's been included on BBC News, which is an added bit of sparkle. But I think the point here is that we've had people like Ordnance Survey and Homes England saying that this fund enables them to have the right conversations at a senior level to drive PropTech forward in their areas. So I think we just wanted to emphasise here the power of the work you're doing and why it matters to us to work with you and support you to tell your story in the right way and make sure that we have the data to empower those stories. So on that note, this work is still emerging, and I know in a lot of your applications there was hints at what baseline data you might be looking at measuring and what success looks like for you, and that completely varied across the applications we received, and we completely recognised that everyone will be trying to measure different things. I think we want to acknowledge that as a government programme, we know that it's really important to demonstrate those time and resource efficiencies wherever that's relevant, because it's a marker of value for money, and it's important as a government programme that we show that. But we also know that with all these things I've listed here about what you've told us you could measure in your applications, and that's not even all of them, there's so much power in the range of things that you might be able to achieve and measure with your pilots, whether that's, you know, things like increased community engagement, which we've seen the power of before, all the way to delivering more homes, more infrastructure, biodiversity net gain. You know, the breadth here is huge, and we're very excited by that. And we want to make sure that we give you the right support to tell that story in the right way. So, you know, I think the power of even just small changes in pilots compared to, you know, massive transformation, which is also happening, you know, either one of those can deliver amazing metrics like the ones we've got here on the slide. So I put these 4 examples here just because I think they're helpful in terms of looking at a before and after of what people have been able to measure before. So, for example, Cotswolds were able to say that AI helped them reduce their timeframes from 4 months to 1 week, which is, my math isn't fantastic, but I think Cheska tells me something like 90%. Lambeth, you know, were able to show that they had a 37% increase in support for the schemes that they were putting forward. Harlow and Gilston Town, 300% increase in the amount of people that were engaged in that process, and similarly, Hounslow and Chesterfield with Urban Intelligence were able to show that they got a 45% time saving. So it's sometimes the power of simplicity in saying this is the before and after of what we've been able to achieve. And I want to emphasize in the exercise we're going to do this afternoon that all this information we're asking you for is for good reason, and we want to be able to use it to inform how we support you. And the intention is that after today we digest everything you've told us in the activity, and also provide a kind of workshop in the next couple of weeks to give you some support on measuring, because we recognise it's not always easy to get the data you need to define. So it's emerging, we'll work with you on it, and we're very excited about the potential that all of your pilots have, which I think this slide speaks to better than I can. We're now going to go to Q&A, because I know we've just thrown so much at you, and I think it's important you have a space to ask us anything you want to ask. So Sarah, shall I hand back to you?
Yeah, thank you very much, Lou. So I know you've been popping questions in the chat, so I'll come to those first. But please do pop more questions in the chat, or if you fancy raising your hand and asking a question, I know it's a big audience, but please do feel free to answer the question of whether things will be shared. Yes, absolutely. We'll send an email after this with links to this slide deck and the welcome deck for people who weren't there. This video recording will be published on Notion, which Lou alluded to earlier. So yes, hopefully no one will miss out if they couldn't make it in person today. Philip Hilton asked a really good question in the chat there. Congratulations on being funded for both the Digital Planning Improvement Fund and the PropTech Innovation Fund. Philip, yes, we appreciate that having 2 sets of information might be quite challenging there. Yes, Philip, if you wanted to come in.
To clarify, I'm actually a joint bid just for the PropTech, but for
Okay.
3 different councils. I noticed the councils across the different groups, so clearly it'd be difficult to attend all 3.
Yeah, no, absolutely. yeah, and we wouldn't expect you to. No one can be in 3 places at once. So what we will do, for when you have your initial meeting with your community manager, yeah, we can chat that through and yeah, come up with a solution. Yeah, yeah, we'll figure it out if there
That's
are
great.
any
Thank you.
specific circumstances, and that's true of anyone else on the call as well. There's a question here from Mick Dunn. How have the cohorts been determined? Lou, did you want to come in on that question?
Yeah, absolutely. So Mick, what we saw, hello again, by the way, hi, great to see you. What we saw in the previous funding rounds, as you've experienced, is that when people are brought together around a common theme, it is kind of really conducive to success in various ways. So we've tried to group people based on the themes that they're working on, and that means the themes that we had in the prospectus and the application forms. There are some exceptions where just because of numbers, we've tried to look at the applications and put people together that we think work. But as Sarah says, it's broadly by theme, but within those, we've made an effort to put a complete range of types of local authority, regional diversity, so a bit of spread there, and also diversity in terms of people that have worked in the fund before and people that haven't, so that there can be some skill share and some knowledge share there. And I wanted to emphasize as well, in case it didn't come across earlier, that you're welcome to join other working groups. Obviously, many of you may not be able to spare the time, but where there's appetite, that's what we want to support. And hopefully the Slack and the Notion and the structure we have makes it clear what else is happening in other cohorts, so you can just jump across, and similarly in the show and tells, things will all come together. So we try to create as much opportunity as possible for cross-pollination, and we're also open to evolving the approach. So if it really doesn't work in some cases, we can shift things around, and we're totally fine with that. So we're very happy to working openly with you. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Lou, and Mick, do come in if it hasn't. Either Christian or Mark, I'm not sure which way your name goes there. We'll come to your question in a minute if that's okay. I'm just going to respond to a question from Philip in the chat, which I'll respond to just to give Lou a break from speaking. What level of detail of what you spend the fund on and when? That's a really good question. You know, we are a government funded programme. We do have strong governance in place, as alluded to in the previous slides. What I will suggest is that when you meet with your community managers, that's a conversation you have with them. You have your own project plan, you have your own milestones, and you have your own deliverables in mind. So I suggest you talk that through with your community manager as to the specific details there. But just to reiterate what we have said in the past, we are looking for a 9 to 12 months completion on all of these projects and pilots. Hope that helps. Thank you. I'm seeing a thumbs up there. Thank you for that. And Christian or Mark, I'm sorry, I don't know which way around your name is. Did you want to come in with your question?
I'll answer to most things, but Mark will do.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Sarah. So just going back to the impact and outcomes section, what sort of level of detail for the baseline are you looking for? Bear in mind that you've already acknowledged that we'll be working from quite a wide variety of different input sources.
It's a great question, Mark, and I think we want to work with you to define that. I think what we're really keen on is that we don't avoid simplicity. I think simplicity is sometimes the best thing. If we find one thing that is the hero measure for your project, let's just focus on that. And I worry that the breadth I showed on the slide might have panicked people. I think, like, if we can find one thing that you're going to do really well, let's measure that. And one data point, you know, the examples I showed there just had one data point, and that was enough for us. So if we can, I hope that answers your question, like going really specific, sorry, on one, I think is absolutely fine. But we also want to support people to measure a breadth of things where that's relevant. So I think we'll work with you over the next couple of weeks, if that sounds good, to define what that looks like. And on our time frame at the end of this presentation, we've got kind of end of April. We want everyone to have decided what that metric is, and we can help you get it.
That's great. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you, Mark. There's another question coming from Mick on the chat, which is any chance of a summary of the theme of each cohort Yes, Mick, absolutely. We will share that. It will be on the Notion. It will be a part of our communications with you. So yes, absolutely, that will be shared with all you in the very near future. Is there anything else that anyone would like to raise as part of this Q&A session? Oh, hi Amber, do come in.
Hello, sorry, it's taking a minute to catch up. Sorry, I put my question on slider. I think I'm doing things backwards. I just thought it'd be helpful from previous conversations that we've had to let everyone know whether there'll be a hard deadline for M&E monitoring and evaluation outputs. I know it's something that's been a little bit unclear in the past, but whether we have a hard deadline of, let's say, 31st of December to get you all of that information, or whether it needs to be as soon as we end our projects. Just to let everyone know if there's a, like I say, hard deadline, because if we want to take a chunk of leave at Christmas, obviously that I need factoring in, which is what I like to do, but I imagine there's others in the same position.
Yeah, fantastic question, Amber. I think Lou or Bridget, if you want to come into that one.
Yeah, so thank you, Amber. There's a timeline at the end of this presentation, but I will just say now anyway, what we keep saying 9 to 12 months, and I know that's annoying. We really want it to be 9, and we would love by the end of December to have all of that baseline data from you. I think we'd love to treat it kind of by exception if you can't do that, and assume that would be the date, end of the year, that we'd like to have that data, both the baseline and the final data from you. So I'd say where you think that's completely unachievable, please let us know, but that is the target for us, and that links back to requirements that we have for kind of internal government reporting. So we're not just choosing that deadline randomly.
Mick, you put your hand up there. Did you want to come in on that?
Yeah, I just want to, again, I suppose, expand on the reporting and evaluation. I think it's great that so much evidence has been collected, and I just wondered if it was possible to share some of that evidence, particularly in relation to those themed groups, so that they've got something to frame the work to. And I think also trying to help with establishing an evaluation methodology, I think, is always important at the start of these programs.
Absolutely, Mick. I know you're an example of someone that's also doing M&E kind of as part of their pilot, and there may well be things that are happening like that across other pilots as well, which we'd love to hear about. Absolutely, we want to share all of that data. We've started doing that through case studies that we've put online. We have this kind of holy grail document that we want to get on the Notion imminently, which has loads of evidence that people have given us in nuggets over time. So we'll definitely be sharing that, and we'll kind of communicate as and when we can get that uploaded. But in the meantime, we do have a lot of case studies that are already out in the world, which are also on the Notion. And yeah, hopefully that evidence can help support other work happening. There was another question in there, Mick. Can you remind me?
It was just kind of following on there from what you just said. I mean, I think it's great when we've kind of got a case study that gives us the headline metric, but I think what we're after is kind of a bit more detail about how, what the variables were that were collected to derive that metric. Yeah, it's not that, oh yeah, it saved 50% time. That doesn't really help us unless we're knowing what it was like before, how, the mechanism that was set up to record that and what has been done.
Come in, Bridget.
I'll jump in. I can't wait to get into the detail here with you, Mick, and others, because I think this is it, right? Like, we've got to recognise that there's such a breadth and depth of different local authorities and stakeholders and suppliers and projects and themes and types and timelines. And we're all generally trying to head in the same direction, as Lou mentioned, in the 9 months, with an exception to 12. And that's exactly why, we've done what we can on our side to pull out some of that more granular information from the applications. Again, there's a spread of information there, purely because of what some councils do know and have access to, and some will have to find out through this process. And then we expect the next step from today, as Lou mentioned, to be more of a deep dive onto getting into the nuts and bolts of what that looks like. But I think, reflecting what Lou was saying, we want to keep this as simple as possible, but not miss clear opportunities for generating evidence. So, if we can do some time and cost studies with you and local authorities, I would expect that's one of the methodologies that we set out once we know where everyone's at and what we have access to, because there's no point us turning up today and saying we think everyone should measure it this way, if that's not possible given some limitations and challenges. So we're just trying to understand what information is available to every local authority, how different that is, and then how we could establish a bit more of a standardized baseline, for want of a better word, on what that framework will be. We are bringing in economists into our team, and we're happy to work with them and you and others to really, I think, evolve the nature of how we set up as soon as we can with M&E, with the benefit of knowing a bit more detail on what everyone's doing, and particularly also I think working a bit closer with some of the tech companies involved and really bringing them into play, because we're conscious in previous rounds of the Innovation Fund they've probably also been generating quite interesting evidence or insights or user research, and that hasn't probably been as publicly shared, and this is one of the reasons why we've invited them to the start of the session today, is to try and broaden that a little bit, see what's available, and then draw a line in the sand on what we think that framework could look like in the months ahead. I hope that gave a little bit more clarity.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's useful.
Yeah.
I just think it's good to do this early on. I mean, we came across a cracking resource working with the university about being able to measure, and that's helping us to kind of measure consistently, which is a resource that we could all use. I just think there's some really simple things or frameworks that we can potentially all adopt that are very simple.
Yep.
But it's being aware of them.
100%, and we'll try and pull some of that out in the mural session later today, and if not, we'll probably put you on the hook for a session on this after Easter. Thanks, Mick.
Great, thank you all. Is there any more questions that anyone would like to raise at this time? Okay, great. So what we're going to do now, as the screen says, we're going to take a short break. Thank you so much to our industry partners for joining us today. Really appreciate you being on the call with us. What we're going to do is we will come back at 14:55. So hopefully time to make a quick cup of tea. And we'll come back with our local planning authorities only and dive a little bit deeper into some interactive sessions. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll see some of you in 7 minutes time. Thank you.
Thanks, bye.